The story begins with a girl in a beautiful dress arriving in a wonderful city. She's headed to the Royal Academy. She notices an exhausted old woman and helps her, using her abilities to make the woman feel better. The woman thanks the girl's son, but the brown-haired girl explains that she's still at level 1 and doesn't need thanks for providing free treatment. The son learns that the girl is going to the Royal Academy and rushes to the student's dormitory. When he tells her that the academy's gates close at 6 p.m., she hurries but arrives too late. The gates close exactly at 6, and she couldn't get into the student's residence. A man with glasses asks for her name in class, and she introduces herself as Alicia, a first-year student. He tells her about the strict rules and suggests that she spend the night anywhere she can and enter the next day. Alicia explains her financial constraints, and the boy realizes she's the commoner accepted that year. He informs her about a solution. There's a part of the Eastern Wall where students violate the curfew. Many enter and exit through there, but there's a slim chance that Roki, the enforcer, will be there at this hour. Alicia is overjoyed and asks for the boy's name, and the student introduces himself as Oswald Grimsard. Her father is a minister in the cabinet. Alicia is very surprised because her father is a minister, but Oswald tells her that he doesn't like pretense. Therefore, she should address him by his name without any titles. She expresses her gratitude to Oswald for guiding her to the entrance and takes her bag, leaving the place. Finally, she arrives at the eastern side of the academy and sees the boy jumping from the wall. He informs her that he will help her enter and extends his hand to help her climb. While they are on their way, the red-haired boy introduces himself as William Aris, a new first-year student. His seniors in the dormitory sent him to buy drinks for the celebration welcoming the new students who enter the dormitory. William shares that his father is a general who trained him since childhood. Alicia is surprised that everyone here comes from extremely noble families. As William turns to her, she stumbles, and despite Alicia's attempt to help, they both fall from above onto the students. She apologizes to the boy, named Edwin, whom she accidentally fell on. Edwin, with yellow hair and green eyes, introduces himself as Edwin Varschein, the second prince of the Kingdom of Varschein. Alicia is shocked because this academy enrolls only noble children. The scene shifts to the academy's director, who scolds them for causing a commotion. William is told that the drinks he brought will be confiscated, making him upset. He bows his head in disappointment. Then, the director speaks to Alicia, acknowledging her exceptional talent and her power of light. She is the only commoner to receive a scholarship here, and she must always remember it and be cautious of her actions. The director, from his council, informs them that they will be assigned additional duties for a whole week as punishment. Then he departs from the place, and the academy director speaks to himself, expressing his hope that Alicia is strong enough to save them from the great demon king. The scene shifts back to Alicia lying on her bed, feeling very sad for failing on her first day at the academy. In those moments, she hears a voice from outside shouting about an intruder. The scene transitions to the guards outside searching for the intruder in the school grounds. The guards instruct them to stay inside and close the windows completely. The scene shifts once again to Alicia, but at that moment, she hears a noise entering her room. She grabs a mop and watches the person as she strikes him on the head multiple times. However, he tells her to calm down as he is not a bad person, revealing his face. Alicia recognizes him as Edwin, the person she fell on earlier. He explains that he was trying to investigate something and got caught when trying to sneak into the school building. Now, he cannot reveal the details, but he promises to tell her later. Suddenly, they hear a noise from outside, indicating that the security is still looking for the thief but hasn't found any trace of him. Edwin looks through the window to observe them and tells Alicia that he cannot go out now or he will be caught. He asks her to let him hide in her room for a little while. Alicia is shocked by his request but agrees to let him stay in her room. In the darkness, Edwin and Alicia sit in silence. Edwin breaks the silence, apologizing to Alicia for what happened. He acknowledges that a noble like him should not invade a lady's room but had no choice. Alicia responds that it's okay, feeling like she's in a dream, never having spoken to a royal before. He said to her that he is just like her, always surrounded by royals and nobles, and this is the first time he's dealing with someone from the common folk. Then he asks her about common women, whether they are as violent as her. Alicia gets annoyed and tells him that she hit him because she thought he was a thief, which is a natural reaction when encountering an unknown person entering her room through the window. Edwin laughs and informs her that he was just joking and he doesn't want her to hit him again. Alicia and Edwin have a laugh together, and then Edwin asks her to keep their encounter a secret. She promises not to tell anyone and Edwin thanks her. He gets ready to leave, not wanting to overstay his welcome. Before he goes, he invites Alicia to the entrance ceremony the next day and wishes her a good night. Alicia reminds him to be careful and avoid any trouble. The next morning, all the new students gather for the entrance ceremony. Alicia is among them, waiting in line to meet the director. She notices both William and Edwin signaling to her. She keeps her eyes on Edwin until she accidentally bumps into a girl in front of her. The girl gets angry and asks if Alicia has a problem. Then she recognizes Alicia and asks if she's engaged. Alicia is surprised that the girl knows her name. The girl questions if Alicia is sick, and Alicia assures her that she's perfectly fine. The girl goes back to her place as the ceremony is about to begin. The director welcomes the new students with great honor. Suddenly, the scene shifts to Edwin and Alicia in a fight against Eumiella. They try to stop the fight, warning her that her luck is running out, but she doesn't listen. Eumiella gets ready to attack with her spears, and the battle intensifies. She emits a terrifying aura as she strikes with her spears. William defends against her attacks with his sword, while Edwin uses his powerful magic to counter a significant portion of her strikes. Together, they manage to hold their ground against her. Alicia also joins the battle, using her special holy light magic. Eventually, they defeat Eumiella. Prince Edwin is grateful to Alicia and gives her a hug. Suddenly, Eumiella, the defeated girl, wakes up and reveals that all of this was part of a game called A Light and Hero. It's set in a world of swords and magic, where the heroine enrolls at the Royal Academy, builds relationships, and grows stronger throughout her journey. She eventually defeats the Demon King. But a hidden boss, the powerful adversary Eumiella Dolkness, emerges after what seemed to be the end of the game. Eumiella tells her own story. At the age of 15, she's heading to the Royal Academy in the capital. She can't remember her past life, but she knows she was reborn in a world of light and heroism after getting hit by truck cunt. Eumiella thinks about how people discriminate against her because of her black hair, which is seen as a bad omen. Even though she defeated the Demon King and the Saint, she becomes the hidden leader, a symbol of oppression. Eumiella thinks about her existence and how people treat her because of her black hair. She wants to reach level 70 and defeat the hidden leader. But in the end, after her defeat, she questions why she even exists. Eumiella has special powers, like using dark magic, which is usually reserved for bad characters. This makes her a strong opponent. At the end, she wonders if her existence has any meaning in the story of Light and Hero. She's not interested in the romantic parts of the game, and she doesn't feel a strong connection to the three characters you can romance. Instead of following the story of Light and Hero, she decides to hide and have a quiet school life. She won't interact with Alicia or the main characters to avoid becoming the hidden leader. She plans to let Alicia and the boys defeat the resurrected Demon King in her third year of high school, so they can all live in peace. But she knows she needs to get stronger just in case. She wants to be strong enough to defeat the Demon King on her own if it comes to that. In one scene, we see a young Eumiella encountering a slime monster. She uses her magic to kill it, and it turns into a magic stone, which is a common thing when you defeat monsters. Eumiella decides to train and test her physical ability, believing she's faster now. She sneaks out every day to train and make money by collecting magic stones from monsters. With the money she earns, she buys different tools, starting with the growth necklace, an amulet that quickly boosts her level. She thinks she can handle the dungeon on her own and confidently says she can fix her magic arm when needed. She encounters monsters in the dungeon and defeats them all, collecting magic stones from them. After a while, she gets the Summoner's Flute, a device to summon monsters. She keeps fighting monsters every day and keeps leveling up. She faces the same demis many times from start to finish, hoping to continue leveling up once she starts school. She arrives at the school in a carriage and is amazed that it looks just like in the game. She reads a message from her father, who urges her to attend the Royal Academy. He wants her to mingle with noble children and find a husband among them to secure her inheritance. Eumiella overhears a schoolboy announcing that the main gate closes at 6 p.m. as per the rule. She mentions that everything is happening just like in the game of Light and the Hero. Alicia appears and talks to a boy, telling her to avoid getting involved with 4 specific individuals if she wants a peaceful life. The boy says the entrance ceremony is about to start. In a different scene, Alicia touches a magic sphere, and the teacher tells her she's at level 1 and needs to work hard. William checks his level and is evaluated as level 10. Eumiella hopes she's at level 5, but she realizes that if she were, she wouldn't have been able to defeat the dungeon boss. Then it's Eumiella's turn, and the director reassures her not to worry since everyone starts at level 1. She places her hand on the sphere, and is actually level 99. Everyone is astonished, and Eumiella says goodbye to her peaceful life. This is unbelievable because the highest known level in the kingdom is only 60. Everyone around is stunned and starts to suspect Eumiella might be cheating, as she herself is surprised to learn she has reached level 99. The headmaster thinks there's an error and asks for another magic crystal. Yet again, it shows level 99, leaving everyone in disbelief. Sunaid, one of the teachers, asks Eumiella if she knew about her level being 99. and Eumiella knows she's in deep trouble. She decides it's time to reveal her true power. Then, the sword teacher questions if the crystal is malfunctioning or if Eumiella cheated to manipulate her level. Eumiella firmly states she didn't cheat and her level is genuinely 99. The sword teacher becomes furious, questioning how Eumiella could reach level 99, as it implies she must have been killing monsters since she was a child. Eumiella, who has indeed been fighting monsters from a young age, now faces rumors about how she could have done such a thing at her age, with more whispers about possible cheating. To ease the rising tension, the headmaster claps and asks everyone to calm down. He suggests they will find out the truth in the actual classes. He gives Eumiella a skeptical look before asking her to introduce herself. As Eumiella introduces herself, she can't help but think that even the headmaster doubts her. Eumiella starts to consider fleeing to another country to escape the situation and lead an ordinary life. The level measuring continues, and Eumiella feels sorry for overshadowing Alicia, a commoner who was supposed to be the center of attention in the original story. When the freshman party starts, Eumiella, who is not used to social gatherings due to her introverted nature, finds it overwhelming and decides to head to her room. However, as she is leaving, William confronts her angrily, demanding to know how she cheated and manipulated her level. Eumiella faces William, who she sees as a frustrating and stubborn guy. William confronts her about cheating, questioning how she, as a noble, could stoop so low. Just then, Edwin, a prince, arrives with an annoyed look, telling William that this isn't the right place to cause a scene. Eumiella respectfully bows and greets Edwin since he's a prince. However, Edwin, looking at her with disdain, calls her a central wannabe, which surprises Eumiella. He goes on to say that William has worked harder than anyone since childhood to reach level 10. He accuses Eumiella of cheating and invalidating William's hard work. Confused by everyone's accusation of cheating, Eumiella insists she's truly level 99 and that everyone will see whether she's lying when classes start. Then Oswald, another character, accuses her of continuing her lie. Eumiella, now just annoyed, explains her perspective on the three of them. She describes Edwin as the main protagonist and a good friend, William as a justice-driven, hot-tempered musclehead, and Oswald as a magic prodigy. Eumiella expresses her desire to avoid the main characters and live a normal life. She says that no matter what she says, they won't believe her. Oswald sarcastically comments that she should have claimed a more believable level like 10 or 15, but claiming 99 is absurd. Edwin, in a bullying tone, challenges Eumiella to show her level 99 power. Knowing that demonstrating her power would only cause more chaos, Eumiella quickly changes the subject by pointing out that Alicia, a commoner girl, seems lost at the party and needs help. While they are distracted, Eumiella takes the chance to escape. Once at home, Eumiella is worn out from all the drama. Her maid, Rita, asks why she left the party early. Eumiella replies that there was no one of interest to her at the event. Rita, who was sent by Eumiella's father to ensure she gets engaged to a noble, informs her that the second prince is in her class. Rita warns Eumiella that she won't find a suitable partner if she continues to keep to herself and act like a recluse. Eumiella feels irritated and decides to switch the topic by asking what central wannabe means. Rita, her maid, is a bit surprised by the question and tells her it's not something to worry about. Eumiella hints that the term might be specific to her and her family, which prompts Rita to explain. Eumiella then concludes that her family is essentially a group of nobles who don't do much. They've handed over their territory's management to local authorities and just spend their time partying and engaging in various indulgences. Eumiella finds her own family pretty disappointing, and Rita doesn't have much to say in response. The next day at school, Eumiella finds herself sitting alone. Her classmates start gossiping about her, calling her hair black and cursed, and accusing her of cheating to reach level 99. But Eumiella, with her heightened senses, hears everything and doesn't care about their opinions. She observes something unusual. The boys, including Alicia, enter the class together, which is different from the original story where they didn't get along at first. Eumiella wonders if her presence is causing changes in the story. Then, Alicia suddenly glares at her with hostility, making Eumiella decide to avoid the main characters as much as possible to have a normal life. In the afternoon swordsmanship class, Eumiella is excited to hold a real wooden sword, something she always wanted to do, just like in the games she played. The sword teacher then announces that there will be a mock battle involving the students who are supposedly level 99, and he asks who wants to spar. Eumiella finds herself the target of everyone's attention again, and William, the musclehead, confidently steps up to be her sparring partner in swordsmanship class. The crowd cheers for William, while Eumiella worries about how to control her strength so she doesn't hurt him. Eumiella, more experienced in using magic for fighting monsters, remembers how she once accidentally crushed a monster with her physical strength. As she's thinking, William taunts her, calling her a pretender and a fraud. Eumiella gets more irritated, realizing how much William's safety depends on her controlling her power. As the sparring match starts, everyone laughs at Eumiella's awkward battle stance, as it's her first time holding a sword. William, thinking she's mocking him, charges at her. But for Eumiella, his movements are too slow. She easily dodges, causing William to fall flat on his face. Eumiella feels a bit sorry for him, not expecting such a dramatic fall. She asks if she needs to hit him to win, and the teacher, surprised, declares her the winner. William, frustrated, accuses Eumiella of pretending to be inexperienced to catch him off guard. He attacks her again, but Eumiella lightly flicks his sword, sending him flying back an unbelievable distance, leaving everyone in shock. Eumiella rushes to check on him, worried she might have accidentally killed him. Thankfully, he's still alive. She picks him up by his collar, wondering if she should carry him to the nurse's office. The teacher quickly intervenes, taking William himself, and instructs the class not to spar with Eumiella anymore. Instead, she is told to practice sword swinging. Now, everyone is scared of her, so she decides to practice on her own. When Eumiella does a normal swing, it creates a huge gust of wind that knocks everyone back. The next class is magic practice. The teacher Tsunade greets the class with a smile and explains they need to hit a magic-enhanced dummy. The students take turns trying out the exercise. Eumiella explains that there are 4 main elemental types of magic in their world: fire, water, wind, and earth. There are also rare elements like light, which Alicia uses, and dark elements. When Alicia uses her light magic, everyone is surprised because it's an ultra-rare element. Next, it's Oswald's turn, who impressively uses all 4 main elements. Lady Tsunade, the teacher, praises him, saying she expected no less from someone as talented as Oswald. She's impressed by his mastery of all elements. Then she turns to Eumiella, suggesting it's her turn to show her level 99 power. Eumiella thinks to herself that Oswald wasn't in the previous class, so he doesn't know about her defeating William. When she steps up to the target, Eumiella admits she can't use the 4 main elements well, but she's a powerful dark mage who has maxed out all her stats. Eumiella then asks Tsunade if it's okay if she destroys the target. Oswald, overconfident, mocks her, saying the target is strong enough to withstand a palace mage's attack and won't be damaged by someone he considers a fraud. Tsunade, trying to defuse the situation, assures them nothing bad will happen. Eumiella then uses a dark flame spell, producing a small flame. Oswald laughs at the seemingly weak magic, but Tsunade is shocked. As soon as the small flame touches the target, it begins to melt like acid, stunning everyone. Eumiella explains that while it might look like fire, it's actually a cold flame that dissolves things. She likens it to a combination of 2 acids, sulfuric and nitrohydraulic. The students are terrified to see her use dark flame. Eumiella says she can only use dark magic, trying to calm everyone down. Tsunade steps in and explains that being a dark mage isn't evil. Even in the king's palace, there are dark mages. She clarifies it's just a type of element like light. Oswald, whose pride is hurt because he thought he was the top magic prodigy, can't accept that someone is more powerful than him. He runs off crying, which surprises Tsunade and everyone else. Just then Edwin arrives with the principal, carrying expulsion papers for Eumiella. Eumiella realizes that Edwin was missing earlier because he was busy preparing these papers. The principal coldly states that anyone who lies about their level doesn't belong at their academy. Hearing this, Eumiella casually remarks that it might be better for her, as she can now go to another country and attend a different academy. However, Tsunade urgently pleads with the principal to reconsider, highlighting that Eumiella is a rare dark mage. Tsunade points out that Eumiella managed to destroy a target that even palace mages struggle, suggesting that she might indeed be a level 99. This, according to Tsunade, makes Eumiella's potential expulsion a significant loss for the kingdom. The principal, however, is not convinced, insisting that breaking something doesn't prove she is a level 99. He demands that Eumiella demonstrate that she truly possesses level 99 power. Seeing Tsunade so worried and pleading, Eumiella finds it hard to refuse. She decides to give them a real demonstration of her power. She asks Edwin if it's okay to cast her spell into the sky and tells him he'll need to take responsibility if anything goes wrong. Edwin, somewhat irritated, agrees to take full responsibility. Eumiella then prepares to use an incredibly powerful spell, one typically associated with a demon lord, but decides to only use 1% of her power. As she raises her hand, a black hole forms in the sky. Gradually, the hole expands, growing large enough to cover the entire capital city. The expanding black hole begins to suck in everything around it, causing chaos throughout the capital. Eumiella explains that this spell absorbs everything in its vicinity and could make the sky above the academy disappear in an instant. Before it can cause any more destruction, Eumiella deactivates the spell. Everyone is left in a state of shock and bewilderment. Eumiella approaches Edwin with a menacing smile, asking if her spell was impressive enough to prove she is a level 99. Edwin is too stunned to respond, visibly terrified and shaking from the ordeal. Next, Eumiella was called to the capital to see the king. When she walked into the castle, people whispered about her, wondering if she really was as powerful as claimed because of her black hair and unique appearance. Yet, Eumiella didn't let the whispers bother her, and respectfully greeted the king. The king acknowledged the issues at the academy, promising to address them and apologizing for the trouble, which surprised everyone around. Eumiella humbly suggested it was all a big misunderstanding and felt like she was always causing problems. The king, however, insisted the fault lay with his son and the academy, not with her. To dispel any doubts about Eumiella's strength, the king called upon Adolf, the kingdom's mightiest knight, to test her abilities. Adolf, known as the only person strong enough to potentially defeat the demon lord, suddenly attacked Eumiella to test her reaction. Caught off guard, Eumiella smartly dodged his attack without fighting back, leaving everyone amazed by her quick thinking and agility. Adolf admitted her skills were genuine, praising her as truly powerful. The king then asked Eumiella to demonstrate her magic. She complied, and her display of magic, creating spikes from the ground, left everyone in awe and a bit fearful, leading to more whispers about her being cursed due to the dark aura of her magic. The king was curious about whether people who use dark magic were evil. The chief magician at the palace clarified that dark magic is simply a type of magic, much like the other four main types. It's quite rare, similar to light magic, and its effectiveness varies. It's weaker against light magic but stronger against the four basic elements. The magician pointed out that the moral alignment of dark magic depends on the person using it, not the magic itself. The king, still puzzled, mentioned rumors suggesting that only demons practice dark magic. The chief magician corrected him, explaining that demons naturally have dark magic but can wield all types of magic, except light magic. This helped the king understand that fear often stems from not knowing the full story, especially in Eumiella's case, whose black hair might have fueled misunderstandings. Eumiella felt thankful, realizing the king was trying to help clear up misconceptions about her. Curious about Eumiella's unprecedented level 99 status, the king inquired how she achieved such a milestone. Eumiella simply shared that she didn't do anything out of the ordinary. She made money by defeating monsters in her area, purchased a growth-enhancing amulet, and continued to fight monsters on her own, using a flute to draw them in, until she reached level 99. Everyone was astounded by her method. When the king asked Adolf, the kingdom's strongest knight, if he could replicate her feat, he admitted it was impossible for him. He always wore a protection amulet, and couldn't imagine taking on high-level monsters by himself, let alone at such a young age as Eumiella did. This made Eumiella realize she might have shared too much about her unique strategy. The king offered Eumiella a position as the kingdom's protector, and even hinted at making her part of the royal family by marrying Prince Edwin. Eumiella, however, only wished for a simple, peaceful life and turned down the king's proposal. She thought about leaving for another kingdom if pressured further. Just when Eumiella believed the discussions were over, she found herself talking with the queen in a casual, unofficial setting. The queen shared that both she and the king were fond of Eumiella. Despite Eumiella's desire to return home, the queen admired her lack of interest in power or authority, noting that Eumiella's potential for ambition was intimidating. Eumiella questioned why the queen trusted her so much. The queen answered that someone who steers clear of royal politics and power is often the most trustworthy. The conversation then took a serious turn as the queen revealed a looming threat, the demon lord's resurrection in 2 years. She sought Eumiella's assistance for when that time arrives. Eumiella agreed to help fight the demon lord, thinking to herself it wasn't much different from her original plan to defeat him. However, the queen clarified they were assembling an elite team for the task, hinting at Alice and Prince being part of it. Eumiella was told her role was to support, not to land the final blow. The queen mentioned that killing the demon lord should be the royalty's responsibility to avoid any disputes over the kingdom's leadership. The queen then suggested Eumiella marry Prince Edwin to resolve any potential issues, but Eumiella quickly dismissed the idea, accidentally voicing her thoughts out loud. The queen, amused, expressed her fondness for Eumiella's candidness. The queen revealed the kingdom's political divide between loyalists and a faction opposing the king, led by ineffective central figures. Eumiella assured her she wouldn't align with her father, whom she disliked. After the meeting, Eumiella returned home. Rita, learning of Eumiella's level 99 status, was astonished. She showed Eumiella a marriage proposal album sent by her father, but Eumiella ignored it, instead sharing royal sweets gifted by the queen and suggesting they enjoy them with black tea, cleverly shifting the conversation away from marriage. Separately, the king and queen discuss their astonishment at Eumiella being level 99 at only 15 years old, acknowledging her as proof of a level cap in their world. They empathized with Eumiella's past struggles, including bullying and family rejection due to her dark magic and appearance. Despite her hardships, Eumiella held no bitterness and sought only a peaceful life. The queen mused on the consequences if someone were to disturb Eumiella's peace. After that incident, Eumiella noticed a shift in how people treated her. They began to approach her more, saying they had misunderstood her as intimidating when she was actually quite kind. This change was largely thanks to the queen, who had been sharing positive stories about Eumiella. However, Alice still seemed frightened by Eumiella's presence. The boys who used to give her trouble seemed to have changed their tune as well, likely influenced by a reprimand from the king. Despite this newfound attention, Eumiella remained indifferent, her main issue being the constant marriage proposals from princes across the kingdom. Among these suitors was one particularly persistent prince from the faction opposing the king. He wouldn't take no for an answer, despite Eumiella's clear disinterest. Fed up, Eumiella told him she would only consider someone stronger than herself, a tactic she devised after enduring a week of his bothersome proposal. The prince argued that power isn't everything, claiming his intelligence was his true strength, and together they could rule the kingdom. When Eumiella questioned if his intelligence was reflected in his academic performance, he countered that being smart wasn't just about grades. He insisted that with his brains and her brawn, they wouldn't need to do much to lead the kingdom. Eumiella found herself increasingly frustrated by the persistent advances of a prince, especially after he suggested they could rule the kingdom together. She cleverly trapped him by asking if his plan involved overthrowing the king, leading him to fear for his life and hastily retreat upon realizing the gravity of his implied suggestion. Walking away from that uncomfortable encounter, Eumiella bumped into Eleonora, the Duke of Varschein's daughter, and a notable figure from the opposition. Eleonora had played a pivotal role in the game, turning Eumiella towards evil deeds through manipulation and bullying. Despite Eumiella's reluctance, she agreed to a conversation with Eleonora to avoid further complications. In her room, Eumiella endured Eleonora's company, wondering if she was capable of engaging in casual girl talk given her isolated upbringing in the game world. She navigated the conversation using 3 simple phrases: "I see, that's amazing," and "tell me more," despite her evident disinterest. Eventually, Eleonora revealed her true intention, warning Eumiella to stay away from Prince Edwin, whom she claimed to like. Eumiella, aware of the king and queen's offers of marriage to her and Eleonora's misunderstanding about her relationship with Edwin, subtly deflected by suggesting Eleonora was the most suitable match for the prince, flustering Eleonora and diffusing the tension. Later, during lunch, Eumiella was approached by some girls who wanted to join her, followed by Alice, who appeared worried and scared. Unexpectedly, Alice questioned Eumiella if she is the demon lord, leaving everyone around them shocked by the sudden shift in conversation. Eumiella is curious about how Alicia knew about the demon lord and questions why she doubted her. Alicia reveals that Ed told her the demon lord would be coming back in 2 years, and she thinks it's Eumiella because of her black hair. However, Eumiella brushes it off, telling her that they learn in the classroom that dark magic isn't necessarily evil. Just then, all of her friends arrive and ask what Eumiella did to their friend. But she tells them that Alicia was talking about her being the demon lord, so she denies it. She thinks that the demon lord's arrival must be kept secret so that people don't panic. But the silly prince says it loudly, revealing to everyone that the demon lord is indeed returning in 2 years. Eumiella then asks the 3 of them why they believe she is the demon lord, despite revealing that the demon lord is coming back in 2 years, and she is already here. To this, Oswald informs her that he believes in Alicia and the words she said. Plus, her strength also suggests that she is the demon lord. Hearing this, Eumiella tells him that she is indeed as strong as the demon lord. But the main reason behind their thinking is that the 3 of them are very weak. This hits their weak spot, causing them to get angry with her. But Eumiella believes that she needs them to get stronger so they can defeat the actual demon lord. Just then, Eumiella decides to leave the lunch area, but suddenly realizes that this might be her chance to teach them how to level their strength up, which might improve their opinion about her. She then tells them that the fundamental way to level up is to go to dungeons and defeat as many monsters as they can without using the amulets of protection, where amulets of growth will double the experience they will receive, and they should use a monster calling flute to defeat as many monsters as possible. And to maximize efficiency, they need to fight solo rather than forming a party. She recommends them go for monsters that specialize not in defense, but in offense, because this will give them the chance to spend less time while fighting with them. She ends by revealing that stronger monsters are the most efficient for raising their level, and they need to go as deep as they can into the dungeon. She even informs Alicia that since she can use light magic, she has a bigger responsibility. and she needs to go to a dark-type dungeon to increase her level. After revealing all the methods to level up their strength, she believes she gets them. But the silly prince thinks she is trying to get them killed, and Eumiella didn't know it would be impossible for them. So she tries to help them in leveling up herself. But the stupid prince says he doesn't need her method and then walks away. After they leave, Eumiella looks at all the students, believing that they must be thrilled after listening to her leveling up methods. But to her shock, they get afraid of her, causing Eumiella to believe that her plan got flopped. Eumiella wonders why Alicia is cautious around her, thinking it might be because she's also reincarnated like her. To investigate, she decides to observe Alicia during her next class. Eumiella spies on Alicia, watching her actions and behaviors for a whole day. After observing, Eumiella believes that Alicia is a nice girl, similar to the game where Alicia was an ordinary citizen at the academy and helped others with her magic. In the game, Alicia tried to join nobles, but they rejected her because she didn't understand their customs. However, she was assisted by the characters Edwin, William, and Oswald. Eumiella sees Alicia playing with a kitty and thinks it's her best chance to talk to her since her friends aren't around. She decides to approach Alicia through the kitty. Eumiella goes to the kitty and mimics its meow. Unfortunately, the kitty gets scared and runs away upon seeing her. A classmate witnesses this but hides it, claiming he didn't see anything. Eumiella explains that she could have caught the kitty using force, but she chose to let it go. The boy tries to talk to her, but Eumiella runs away to find Alicia. She discovers Alicia sitting with Prince Edwin, helping him with his studies. Suddenly, the silly prince informs Alice that the king himself said she is not the demon lord, despite having black hair, being level 99, and having the ability to use dark magic. However, Alicia shows him a dark drawing she made with her pencil, revealing that this is how Eumiella looked at her, and she might have something to do with her light magic. Hearing this, Eumiella wonders what she's talking about. But the silly prince informs Alicia that the king wants her to join the force that will battle the demon lord. This means they will all work together to face the demon lord one day. He then apologizes to Alicia for getting her involved in fighting with the demon lord. But Alicia assures him that if the world is in danger, she will use her magic to do whatever she can to help them out. Hearing those, Eumiella believes that Alicia wasn't reincarnated. After that, Eumiella heads to the principal's office to meet him. But instead of the principal, she finds another person sitting on his chair, who welcomes her and reveals that his name is Ronald, and he has been appointed as the new principal. He tells her to sit on the chair after revealing that he's been here on the orders of the king. He apologizes to Eumiella on behalf of Prince Edwin, who revealed the state's secret in public, but reveals that he was not always the type to behave so rashly, but recently he's been unstable. Even his friends too. Eumiella asks what happened to them, to which Ronald reveals that all three of them had been exceptionally brilliant since childhood, but someone showed up in their way and shattered their pride. He informs her that due to the rumor that spread after the prince's revelation, the king still believes that Eumiella is not the demon lord and tells her to be relaxed. Just then, she asks Ronald how much information does the royal family have about the demon lord, but Ronald quickly denies it, stating that he doesn't know himself. He then asks Eumiella if he has a favor to ask and reveals that when their field lessons begin in the near future, he wants her to be on the administrative side. When asked about the field lessons, he informs her that a field lesson is basically a leveling up test where they send students to hunt monsters. Since she is level 99, she can destroy the army of monsters in an instant, which means she will ruin the training of the students, which means they will not to level up. However, Ronald informs her that for nobles, field lessons are divided between central nobles and regional nobles, and she will be in charge of regional nobles. He reveals that regional nobles fight monsters in their domains more often than city-dwelling central nobles, and this inevitably creates a clear difference in their motivation to level up. Hearing this, she wonders if Prince Edwin and his friends will attend the field lesson with central nobles. But Ronald informs her that he has arranged a special training program for them, and their goal is to get them to level 40 by the time they graduate. Eumiella wants them to reach level 60, but Arnold believes it's not possible. At the field lesson, she sees kids of the regional nobles and wonders how she can be helpful to them since they look too inefficient. Just then, the boy who saw her playing with the kitty arrives and introduces himself as Patrick Ashbottom. He informs her about their strategy, revealing that the vanguard will hold the monsters in place and the rearguard will attack them. But she then asks how will the guy holding the monster level up, to which he informed her that they will reverse it and will use rearguard's magic to stop the monster's movements and then finish them with vanguard attacks. Hearing this, she tells him that she wants to use this method right now and calls out the monsters with a monster calling flute. Just then, the monsters arrive and attack them, but they were able to kill them in a short amount of time. However, they feel exhausted and terrified. which causes Patrick to ask Eumiella why she summoned the monsters without warning them. To which Eumiella reveals that she knows some of them got exhausted from using their magic, but she will hold the monsters in place next time. Just then, she summons the monsters again with a monster calling flute, causing panic among all the students who believe they are going to die. However, Eumiella binds them with her dark bind spell and asks the Vanguard team to kill them since they weren't able to kill monsters earlier. Shocked at this, the students wonder what they should do, but Eumiella assures them that her magic is powerful, and they won't get attacked by the restrained monsters. Hearing this, Patrick steps forward and kills one of the monsters, ensuring everyone that Eumiella is not lying. Just then, a monster not restrained by her bind magic arrives and tries to attack Eumiella. But Patrick gets in her way and gets bitten by the monster, who was instantly killed by Eumiella afterward. She then activates her magic and reveals after healing his wound that dark magic also has healing and recovery spells, but they are super gross. She then asks why he tried to save her, to which Patrick reveals that she was in danger and he had to step in her way to protect her. This causes Eumiella to wonder who can hurt her at level 99, but thanks him after thinking that maybe he was worried about her and feels embarrassed at it. After that, Patrick asks her to inform them before using the monster calling flute, to which Eumiella instantly used it, causing the other students to go into shock. Eumiella tells us that the Overseer warned her about using the summoning flute for monsters. Then, we see the Overseer saying he didn't know dark magic could heal. Eumiella suggests using dark magic to regenerate an arm, sharing her own story of losing an arm as a child. Thinking to herself, Eumiella reflects on how dangerous that incident was and how a slight mistake could have cost her life instead of just her arm. She wonders why there isn't magic to regrow a lost head. Then, Jomla asks the Overseer about the noble's lesson. The Overseer says Prince Edwin and his friends did well, with William leading the attack and Oswald handling any escaped monsters. The problem is they're gaining levels by killing monsters personally, making it hard for other students to level up. Jomla asks about Alicia, and the Overseer says she hasn't killed any monsters like the others. Eumiella wonders if Alicia wants to do more, but the Overseer doesn't think so. In the reports, he thinks Edwin, William, and Oswald are trying to impress a girl they like. Since Alicia can use light magic, the Overseer suggests she needs to get stronger, hinting that Eumiella might be able to help. Excitedly, Eumiella offers her assistance, and the Overseer tells her about a dark den called Deepness. Alyssa might have an advantage there, so he suggests Eumiella take her there. The Overseer then mentions another matter. They received a request from the castle's magical tools development team to test Eumiella's endurance. Eumiella agrees, and the Overseer hands her a piece of metal that passed a durability test by Captain O. But he wants to know how well she can withstand stronger opponents. Then he hears a sound and sees Eumiella bending the metal. The Overseer asks how much strength it takes to bend that metal. Eumiella gives him the metal and advises him to be careful to notice it next time. Eumiella then reassures herself that this could be good training to control the force she uses. The scene shifts to the Overseer trying to bend the metal, but he fails. Then it transitions to Eumiella walking in the academy and meeting her friend Patrick. Eumiella tells him he called her for that reason and scolded her for using the monster summoning flute. Next, we see Patrick calling out to his friend as they head to class where everyone wants Patrick to lead the next field lesson. Patrick bids farewell to Eumiella and goes to the classroom. Eumiella realizes that everyone trusts Patrick a lot. Next, the scene moves to the field training ground. Eumiella tells us that her secluded life has changed a bit since the field lesson ended. Patrick occasionally comes to talk to her. The teacher informs the students that they will have some practical lessons and instructs them to form pairs. Eumiella stands alone, and Patrick approaches her suggesting they form a pair if she doesn't have one. Eumiella asks him if he's confident about it, as he must have many friends who want to partner with him. Patrick reassures her not to worry as he owes her a partnership. Eumiella asks him, "Do you mean because I treated you?" But she tells him not to worry about it, as he can use antibiotics to treat himself even if she's not there. Patrick smiles and says to her, "You also hurt me." Her face changes, causing her a lot of embarrassment. Then they start playing with each other and Eumiella talks to herself, realizing that Patrick, the person she considers her closest friend since coming to this place, may have natural virtues that make everyone obey his orders. He is a leader, and for some reason, his voice seems to reach everywhere, possibly because he studied voice commentary, making his voice soothing to the hearts back to reality. A training with wooden swords begins, and Eumiella boasts that no one can match her in physical strength and quick reflexes. While Patrick jumps high to strike Eumiella, she delivers a powerful blow, sending him flying. The boys are surprised and worried about Patrick. Eumiella quickly runs to check on him, discovering that he has been injured in his left arm. She apologizes profusely, not intending to harm him. She quickly uses her medical skills to treat him, apologizing for the unintentional injury. However, Patrick decides to leave and tells her that he should be the one apologizing as he may not be a worthy partner for her and her incredible strength. Eumiella insists that he can learn a lot from his sword skills, and Patrick is amazed, asking her why she even thinks about fighting. Eumiella reflects, putting her fingers on her chin, and says to him that the Demon King is what drives them to that. Patrick is surprised because he heard rumors that he would return after 2 years, meaning that those rumors were true. He asks Eumiella if she has heard anything about him from the king, and she replies that she hasn't heard anything. However, she speaks to herself, admitting that she lied to him as the king shared a lot with her about the Demon King, but it was kept secret between them. Then she tells Patrick that she heard that Prince Edwin is spreading nasty rumors, or that the king is hiding something. It's a complicated situation. Eumiella talks to herself again, realizing that there have been many vile rumors about Prince Edwin lately, to the point that even if she denies the claims of the Demon King's return, it would be hard to prove her claim false. She reflects on Edwin's diminishing popularity due to his flirtatious behavior and rumors about her being the Demon Queen. She turns to Patrick and asks him if he thinks she's the Demon Queen. At times, Patrick responds cleverly, telling her that if she were the Demon Queen, she would have destroyed the world already. He appreciates her kindness and high morals, but mentions that it bothers him that people believe those rumors because of her black hair. Eumiella confesses that when she was young, her hair was almost black and it bothered her. However, she later found out that Patrick's hair is white, not black, and she takes pride in her hair and eye color. Patrick admires her strength and assures her that he will never dislike her because of her hair color. She thanks him greatly for his kind words and looks at his silver hair, telling him that the color is beautiful. Eumiella suggests that if he wants to lighten it to yellow, he can use a bit of hydrogen peroxide solution on it. Patrick smiles at her advice and thanks her. They decide to engage in another duel, and when Patrick strikes her with the sword, she retaliates with a strong blow, sending him flying. The boys are shocked again, and Eumiella quickly runs to apologize to him. After treating his injuries, Patrick reassures her that he's fine, and they both stand together. Patrick compliments her, stating that she's amazing and uses her abilities with great confidence. He praises her strength and greatness, considering her a pride for the academy. In the evening under the bright moonlight, Eumiella reflects on her friendship with Patrick, remembering his caring words. She contemplates the adventures and wars that await them in this world full of new friends. Just a few days later, Bodit participates in their second field lesson with Eumiella and Patrick in a distant area. Patrick expresses confidence that she already knows this, but he warns her against using the flute's power to summon monsters again. Eumiella assures him that she won't, as the overseer scolded her for that too. He also advises her not to burn the forest out of boredom, and she responds that today she is like a battlefield weed, learning a lesson that isn't a real war. As all the students gather around a lake, the teacher informs them that they will face different types of monsters this time. Eumiella sits aside feeling extremely bored and summons a friendly monster to play with to pass the time. She observes the students achieving good results, but the atmosphere seems much more relaxed than the previous encounter with monsters. The danger is less apparent in these conditions. Then Eumiella notices a student who has a minor injury, and she quickly rushes to treat him. The teacher reassures her that it's a very minor wound and there's no need for her intervention. Eumiella, expressing her extreme boredom, insists that she has nothing else to do and offers either a potion or magical healing. The students opt for a potion, and she quickly uses her magical abilities to heal the student, astonishing him. Grateful, the students thank her, and the teacher grants them a short break. Eumiella reflects to herself that the relaxation apparent in everyone is a real problem. She believes that when someone here tries to improve, they need to be on the edge of danger constantly. She attempts to use the power of the flute, but Patrick quickly intervenes, reminding her that he warned her about it before and that it's too dangerous. Eumiella argues that the current situation is more perilous as she thinks all these students are skilled enough to handle it. She suggests increasing the difficulty of the lesson to match their ability. Patrick agrees with her, and Eumiella continues proposing that each student should face a Damaz creature that suits their level. Patrick becomes worried because facing a Damaz alone is considered madness. Eumiella asks him if he denies his past entirely, but he clarifies that he didn't mean that. Eumiella insists that the current approach is ineffective, making them kill low-level monsters in a time-wasting exercise. She argues that they should face slightly higher-level monsters, and even Patrick agrees that the lesson is not sufficient, noting that she hasn't used the flute yet, and that everyone should take things more seriously. She asks Patrick to use his magic on everyone, and after treating them, Patrick is surprised by Eumiella's words. She assures him that their knowledge of the pain caused by injuries should increase their focus. Eumiella confidently claims that she can cause them pain without killing them. She then addresses the students, giving them a choice between the flute and injury. The students unanimously choose the flute. Patrick hands Eumiella the flute, and he quickly goes to the students, urging them to form up and prepare for engagement. A multitude of fish emerge from the water, and Eumiella instructs them to maintain formation and stay calm. Eumiella admits to herself that she tends to get too excited when it comes to raising the difficulty level. She reflects on the potential impact on her noble family's standing if Patrick were to become angry with her. Patrick speaks to the students, emphasizing the importance of maintaining formation and assuring them they can win. Eumiella wonders if Patrick could use wind magic to transmit his voice. And then the scene shifts back to Patrick instructing the students to attack with magic while using earth magic to keep their footing steady. Eumiella contemplates Patrick's strategic brilliance in group combat. Finally, they manage to defeat the challenges, and the situation starts to calm down. The scene transitions to the academy where Eumiella returns without speaking to Patrick, even if he might hate her. She decides to treat it as a return to the way things were at the beginning of the school year. Alicia approaches Eumiella and apologizes for assuming she was the demon queen, admitting that she caused her trouble by jumping to conclusion. Eumiella understands that Alicia is frightened just by standing in front of her now. But despite that, Alicia comes to apologize. Eumiella thinks that Alicia is a genuinely kind girl, and notices Prince Edwin approaching, ordering Alicia to step aside and confronts Eumiella, mentioning that he heard about what she did in the field lesson, summoning monsters to force students into fighting a swarm of creatures. Edwin questions whether Eumiella was trying to kill someone, manipulating the situation to appear as an accident, or she planned to hurt the students only to heal them afterward, gaining popularity. The miller realizes that Edwin might have heard an exaggerated version of the story. Still, he warns her that he will continue to monitor her in the academy, and if the students are put at risk again, she will be expelled. Eumiella wonders if it's worth enduring all this just to stay in the academy. Suddenly, Patrick, Eumiella's friend, intervenes and asks Edwin to wait. Patrick explains that Eumiella did use the flute to summon monster, but it was to make the students take the lesson more seriously. He assures Edwin that Eumiella's methods, while unpopular among regional nobles, are the most effective in raising the students' levels without violating school or kingdom laws. Edwin reluctantly backs off, and Patrick tells Eumiella that Edwin's words must have been tough for her. Eumiella thanks Patrick sincerely and asks if he's confident that it was wise to say that to Prince Edwin. He informs her that being the second prince of the Margrave Crehia does not mean anything to him. Then Eumiella notices that Patrick seems angry, and he tells her that he is not angry but rather feels extremely frustrated that perhaps he lacks awareness of his royal status. Eumiella acknowledges that she might have gotten a bit carried away and exceeded the limits of politeness during their lesson. Patrick is surprised by her words and tells her that he has no problem with her speaking however she finds comfortable. Eumiella thinks to herself that the hierarchical order should be of utmost importance in noble society. Patrick emphasizes that he doesn't care about formalities as there are many other important matters to worry about. He questions why she has been somewhat upset since the field lesson, expressing his concern for her. Eumiella reassures him that she went through a period of depression, but is fine now. Patrick is delighted to hear this news, smiles, and laughs. He suggests they should return to the classroom as he leaves. Eumiella calls out to him. Eumiella thanks Patrick again for his help, this time with a cute smile. Patrick notices her smile and mentions that it's rare to see her smiling. Surprised by this, Eumiella wonders if she was smiling and expresses her desire to be friends with Patrick. We then saw that it was time for the summer break, and most students went home and some stayed to level up and improve their skills. Patrick stayed at school to watch others train with swords. Eumiella hits Patrick hard, sending him flying. She hurries to him, saying sorry for being too strong. Using her power, she heals him. He tells her it's fine, he's used to it because she's very strong. Eumiella apologizes for sparring with him every day, even during breaks. But Patrick wants to get stronger. He jokes about flying again but says he doesn't really want to. Eumiella promises to control her strength better. She gives him a blackboard for level 60 students to practice using force without breaking it. When she tries, the board breaks, showing she can't control her powers yet. Patrick is surprised and comments on how fragile it is. He tries himself but fails. The scene moves to the classroom, where afternoon periods are for individual study, leaving them bored in the dorms. Eumiella is lost in thought when two girls ask her for advice on understanding the exercise. Eumiella feels really happy because lately, people have been getting closer to her. Patrick comes over, surprising the girls. Eumiella jokes with the blonde girl about them always hanging out together. She explains they're training to get better at their skills. The girls are even more surprised, wondering how someone as advanced as Eumiella, at level 99, could help them improve even more. Eumiella tells them that if they want to level up, they just need to ask, and she'll help them right away. As Patrick scolds Eumiella for always rushing into things and scaring people, she explains she was only talking about leveling up. Patrick advises her to be more sociable and see how people react before saying anything scary. He suggests she could express the same idea in a different way. Meanwhile, as Eumiella thinks about Patrick's advice, she overhears students talking about them, mentioning their similarity and how they're almost like siblings. She listens carefully, with her sharp hearing, like a dog. Then she looks at Patrick, not feeling as close to him as others might think. The scene changes to the library, where Eumiella remembers summoning monsters and Patrick's leadership skills. She admires him as a great leader who knows how to organize the army well. Back to reality, Eumiella decides she wants to read military books to become a leader herself. She notices Alyssa and hides, then watches her again. Realizing she's alone because her friends have left, Alyssa approaches her, wanting to learn superhuman abilities like Eumiella's. Despite not finding any books on the subject, Eumiella agrees to teach her. She starts explaining her abilities simply so Alyssa can understand. To use her power, Eumiella must think of a strong and fair blow. She then looks at the stars or imagines a big star to draw power from. Alyssa is excited and grateful before leaving. Eumiella thanks Alyssa and walks away. Patrick gives her a box he got from the castle, full of pastries. He suggests they eat them together in the cafeteria. They find the pastries delicious and chat while Eumiella watches nearby. As summer break ends, the martial arts tournament begins. It has a sword fighting section and a magic section, both evaluated individually. Eumiella pauses for a moment. She's never been in this competition before. But as she reads the rules, she realizes Alicia will showcase her light magic, impressing the audience. Nobles and influential figures will be there, offering military students a chance to show their skills. Eumiella doesn't think it's right to interfere. Just then, Patrick comes over and asks if she'll join the martial arts tournament. She says no, and asks if he'll participate, but he also declines, not being interested in the military. He tries to guess who might win the prize. Eumiella looks at the tournament paper and sees that the winners will get a necklace enhancing dark magic. She didn't know about this. Patrick tells her she's the only one who can use dark magic and could become even stronger. Excited, she decides she wants that prize and rushes to sign up for the tournament, telling the director she wants to participate. She wouldn't have joined if she didn't know about the prize, but since there's a big reward, she'll compete in both sections to earn the prizes fairly. On the day of the competition, everyone gathers in the academy courtyard, including Eumiella and her friend, Patrick. He tells her he heard the king will give the necklace prize to the overseer, who will then award it to her. Eumiella realizes she's been tricked into joining the tournament so the overseer can impress the nobles. She asks Patrick if the nobles find this event as enjoyable as visiting the zoo or seeing military weapons. The announcer then calls for the tournament matches to be determined, and all participants must gather in the center of the arena. Eumiella hurries before the competition starts, putting in all her effort to win. Patrick wishes her luck as she heads to the arena. The matches are chosen by draw, and Eumiella finds herself placed as number 3 on the right side. William, one of the participants, approaches her and says he heard she stayed at school during the summer break. He trained hard and reached level 20. Eumiella doesn't believe the same thing will happen again in this competition. She looks at William, curious about how he raised his level. William tells her he heard from Captain Adolf that she's at level 99. If he said it, then it must be true. He dreams of surpassing Captain Adolf someday. Eumiella sees the pity in William's eyes and thinks to herself that he's closer to meeting his defeat. They watch the match, and Miles wins. Then Eumiella enters the arena against Louis. She tells herself it's impossible to lose, but she'll give him a chance to shine. However, the swords they're using are fragile, and a broken weapon means instant elimination. Eumiella has struggled with this sword before, as most break when she uses her full strength. As she prepares for the match, Louis withdraws out of fear, declaring Eumiella the winner. This pattern repeats with several withdrawals, leading to a fight between Prince Edwin and William. Edwin strikes hard, but William stands firm and disarms him, winning the match. Finally, it's the last round between William and Eumiella. She thinks to herself that this is her chance to win. She's confident she'll emerge victorious due to her opponent's mistakes. At that moment, William brandishes his weapon, boasting that his sword, the Great Sea Strudo, is far superior to the old wooden one. When Eumiella sees this sword, she recalls it's usually obtained near the end of the game. Wondering how William acquired it, she suspects he has secret connections. Then, the final round commences. William charges at Eumiella, swinging his sword, but she skillfully avoids his attacks. As William continues to swing, Eumiella notices his sword starting to weaken. She explains that using a sword above one's level leads to this kind of problem. Despite William's frustration, Eumiella keeps dodging, finding it dull. Deciding to make the final round exciting, Eumiella recalls her training with Patrick. She remembers how he twisted opponents' attacks, eliminating the need to dodge. Determined to win in style, Eumiella decides to employ Patrick's techniques against William. All of a sudden, William lands a blow on Eumiella's sword, causing small cracks to appear. Eumiella panics, fearing her sword might break, which would lead to her elimination. Despite the worry, she gathers her strength and shatters William's sword using a special punch technique she learned from Ma Anna. William is stunned as his sword falls apart, declaring Eumiella as the victor of this round. Eumiella wins the match, feeling relieved that her spontaneous action went unnoticed, though one man does observe her breaking the sword with her bare hands. As Eumiella prepares for the magic section of the competition, she learns from a boy that she'll be judged not only on her magic strength, but also its type and execution accuracy. Despite being the last participant, Eumiella possesses an advantage due to her ability to manipulate all 4 main elements. Curious about how the boy raised his level, she asks him, and he admits he didn't use shortcuts like the summoning flute but instead trained diligently. He also acknowledges Eumiella's high level and apologizes for doubting her, although he asserts his own ambition to become the kingdom's strongest mage and win the competition. Eumiella appreciates the apology, understanding the misunderstanding has been cleared up. However, the boy reaffirms his determination. Eumiella assures her opponent that she'll give her all in the competition. As the first-year student Alyssa steps up, she recalls Eumiella's advice to focus on a specific point and thing, choosing to visualize the stars in the sky. Her unique magic shines brightly, lighting up the arena with star-like lights and impressing the audience. Eumiella admires Alyssa's ability, recognizing her potential as the protagonist. Alyssa earns a respectable 38 points, with the teacher praising her captivating gait and the beauty of her enchantment. Eumiella sees this as an opportunity, considering rarity as her own strength and a chance to win. Prince Edwin follows, showcasing his magic by enchanting his sword, creating a fiery whirlwind that earns him 90 points. Then, Oswald demonstrates his skills with a magic wand, summoning sand from the ground and manipulating it into various shapes before combining different elemental magics, leaving the audience astonished. With precision and creativity, Oswald earns a perfect score of 100 points, proving himself a genius. Despite Oswald's confidence that Eumiella can't surpass 100 points, she remains determined to achieve a tie if she scores the maximum points. As she prepares for her turn, Eumiella ponders which enchantment she'll use in the arena. Eumiella notices Patrick standing far away and wonders why he's keeping his distance. Even though he knows it's her turn, she resolves to showcase her strength from where he stands. Suddenly, when he sees her, he starts to use his magic, but fearing she might not control her power, he hides. Eumiella then performs her powerful enchantment, the Black Hole spell, which she hasn't used fully in a long time. Afterward, she withdraws her enchantment, and the sun shines brightly again, making her very happy. Suddenly, the sky forms a whirlwind, and rain begins to fall, frightening people who start to believe she's a demon king. Eumiella realizes she forgot that this spell always creates a small whirlwind. The teacher intervenes, ordering her to stop as they've finished. Eumiella wants to show another enchantment for more points, but the teacher informs her she already has 300 points, surprising her as 100 is the maximum. The teacher reassures her she can reach 300 points but advises her to stop as she's won anyway. Then the director congratulates her and hands her the first-place necklace, laden with black magic. Eumiella is ecstatic that her magic will become even stronger. Later, she meets Patrick, who congratulates her, expressing surprise that she needs the necklace despite her power. Eumiella thinks to herself she should show him how much stronger her dark magic becomes with it, making Patrick worried. Eumiella sat quietly in the classroom, thinking to herself. She noted that winter was here and that she was almost done with her first year at the academy. People seemed more afraid of her since the martial arts competition, which made her feel isolated. Suddenly, Patrick approached her, the only one who dared to come close. They seemed to like each other's company as they sat together. Patrick asked how she was doing, but Eumiella was lost in her thoughts. Edwin interrupted, asking if she knew anything about Alyssa's disappearance. Eumiella denied knowing anything, which made Edwin accuse her of lying and threatened to expose her later. Patrick got angry and demanded evidence from Edwin before making accusations. Edwin changed the subject, mentioning another suspect he wanted to investigate. After Edwin left, Eumiella thought about the situation. She hadn't bullied Alyssa before, but many at the academy disliked her for being ordinary and hanging out with the prince and his friends. The bullying had gotten worse, causing Alyssa to miss school for a week. Later that day, Eumiella caught a girl sneaking into the auditorium and reaching for 2 books. Eumiella questioned her actions, And the girl, panicked and confused, explained that she was worried about Eliza. Eumiella, surprised by the girl's fear, reassured her that she wouldn't harm her. She was taken aback by the girl's assumption that she would resort to murder. This made Eumiella ponder her reputation and actions. The girl then confessed that she had hidden Eliza's belongings for Elinor Sama. The scene shifted to Eumiella approaching Elinor. Eumiella tells Elinor about the situation, shocked that Elinor could be involved in something like this. Elinor is surprised by the accusation and realizes she's in trouble. However, Eumiella remains calm and kind, deciding not to tell anyone about what happened. This surprises Elinor even more, and she stands up from her seat. Elinor confesses that she loves Prince Edwin and wants to do anything to keep him away from Melissa. Eumiella understands Elinor's feelings for Edwin and advises her not to worry. She explains that a common girl like Alyssa wouldn't be able to marry into the royal family, which makes Elinor happy. Meanwhile, Eumiella realizes that she has trapped Elinor. She knows that if Alyssa defeats the Demon King, she'll be considered royalty and could marry Edwin. Eumiella then talks to Elinor, advising her not to interfere and to focus on her happiness with Edwin. Elinor is thrilled by this, believing herself to be the most suitable partner for Prince Edwin. The scene changes to Eumiella sitting with Patrick, who scolds her for what she did, expecting her to hand the culprit over for punishment. But Eumiella remembers her past mistakes and tells Patrick that everyone can make mistakes, and she has learned from hers. She believes forgiveness is the best option when possible. She explains that if she had reported Elinor, everyone would be angry with her, and Elinor would exclude her from their group. Then she talks about Alyssa, describing her as a kind girl with a light charm, unlike herself, who feels she possesses a darker charm and believes nobody loves her. Finally, she turns to Patrick and says that's all, as she dislikes trouble, but it always finds her. Eumiella expresses her frustration with a world that seems to bring her nothing but evil, which angers Patrick. He stands up and tells her how can she say that, emphasizing that if she hates the world, he's a part of it and loves her deeply, promising never to abandon her. Eumiella stands up, agrees with him, and says she must go back to the dormitory. Before leaving, she thinks about his words. 4 days later, Elinor approaches Eumiella. Since the bullying incident, Elinor has been following her. She offers to have tea together, but Eumiella politely declines, claiming to be busy. Eumiella feels greatly afraid of Elinor, who seems to be following her everywhere. According to the kingdom, Duke Hilrose and his daughter Elinor are opposed to the king. It's said that it's not good to be close to her. As Elinor walks behind her, Eumiella turns to her and firmly tells her to stop inviting her. Elinor insists, mentioning she has many gifts and sweets for her, but Eumiella wants to keep her distance. Elinor then suggests that if Eumiella wants Prince Edwin to like her, she should stay away from her. She adds that she doesn't want Prince Edwin, she wants to be with Eumiella. This surprises Eumiella a lot as Elinor's behavior seems strange. Then she pulls her hand away and leaves. The scene shifts to when they were sitting together. Elinor offers Eumiella some of the sweets she made. Eumiella tries them and tells Elinor they're okay but need more sugar. Elinor feels sad as she made them herself. Eumiella, surprised, thinks to herself that this is her chance to make Elinor not like her. Eumiella sarcastically comments on how awful the sweets taste, waiting to see Elinor's reaction, thinking she'll get mad. But Elinor surprises her. Instead of getting upset, she becomes really happy and agrees with Eumiella, admitting her attempt was a flop. Then she holds Eumiella's hand and tells her that while her other friends always praise her, Eumiella is the only one who tells her the truth. Eumiella is taken aback by Elinor's response, not expecting her to understand her so well. Elinor goes on to say that her friends always think she's perfect and never capable of making mistakes. They always think she's right and they're wrong. Eumiella wonders if someone might be manipulating Elinor, like ordering her to do something to Eliza. Then Eumiella asks about Eliza's missing things, but Elinor denies having anything to do with it. Eumiella is surprised and wonders who could have influenced Elinor to do such a thing. When asked about her thoughts on the theft, Elinor admits she considered it a good idea and was tempted to do it. Eumiella looks at Elinor, thinking she doesn't seem like a bad person. Then Elinor tells Eumiella not to trust her friends too much. She expresses her desire to be a truthful and dependable friend to Eumiella, seeking her sincere advice, especially regarding her relationship with Prince Edwin. Elinor then places her hand on Eumiella's, holding it, and mentions how Eumiella once said she and Prince Edwin would definitely get married. Eumiella couldn't respond, thinking to herself, oh no, I've gotten myself into a difficult situation. Later, a few days pass, and Eumiella is sitting and reading a book when Elinor suddenly enters the scene. Eumiella is surprised when Elinor enters her private room. Then, the maid serves tea, and Eumiella wonders why she let Elinor in. The maid whispers that she couldn't refuse the Duke Hilaros's daughter. Eumiella takes a sip of the tea but notices it tastes different. She tells the maid it's not her usual tea. The maid whispers again that it's Lipton tea, one of the best, and she couldn't serve cheap tea to the Duke's daughter. The scene shifts to Patrick talking to Eumiella about Elinor. He says Alina isn't a bad girl and suggests Eumiella try to get closer to her. Eumiella says she'll consider it and leaves. But Patrick stops her, asking if she'll attend the end-of-year party. Eumiella says it's not her concern and walks away, wondering what the party is about and what they do there. As she ponders, Alina approaches from behind, greeting her and asking if she's thought about her outfit for the party. Eumiella mentioned she didn't have a partner for the party. Alina then asked about Patrick, which puzzled Eumiella because she didn't see the connection. She clarified she had no involvement with Patrick and also lacked a dress for the occasion. Alina kindly offered to lend Eumiella one of her dresses. Eumiella remembered she had one dress at home, so they headed there together. At Eumiella's house, Alina asked about her dress choice, but Eumiella brushed it off, saying it wasn't important. This upset the maid, who scolded Eumiella, insisting she should take better care of herself and her appearance. The maid then searched through the wardrobe for a suitable dress for Eumiella to wear to the party. Eumiella reflected on how she knew her mother's age but had never met her. Just then, the maid informed Eumiella of a parcel for her. When Eumiella received the parcel, it turned out to be from the queen, which surprised both girls. Eumiella explained that the queen sometimes sent her sweets, but this parcel seemed larger than usual. The party scene begins, and everyone is amazed by Eumiella's beauty. Eumiella scans the room and spots Alicia chatting with her friends. Alina questions Alicia about not bringing Patrick along. Suddenly, Patrick arrives and is captivated by Eumiella's appearance. Alina excuses herself, saying she didn't want to interrupt them. Eumiella tells herself that she and Patrick are just acquaintances. She looks at Patrick and mentions that she almost left the party because she felt a bit self-conscious in her dress. Eumiella notices Patrick's uneasy expression and asks if something is wrong. But Patrick remains silent. Eumiella then asks if he's searching for someone. And suddenly Will appears, inquiring about Alicia and Edwin. Will and Oz leave to find them. Afterward, we find Alicia and Edwin standing on the balcony. Edwin remarks that Will and Oz must be surprised by now. Alicia shares that she found a spot where the stars shine brilliantly and suggests showing it to Edwin. Edwin is taken aback, expressing his surprise at Alicia's boldness, which he hadn't expected. The scene shifts back to the party, where Eumiella informs her friend Patrick that she's about to leave. However, Patrick stops her by holding her hand and asks her to wait. Eumiella is surprised, and then Patrick requests just one dance with her. Eumiella thinks to herself that Patrick now appears very gentlemanly, pondering if she should feel honored or not. Eventually, she agrees, takes his hand, and they start dancing. Eumiella reflects inwardly, admiring Patrick's graceful lead. Patrick encourages her to relax and reassures her that it's all right if she accidentally steps on his toes. As they dance smoothly, Eumiella finds it incredibly enjoyable. Meanwhile, everyone at the party watches them, and it almost seems like Eumiella's dress is adorned with the blood of her foes, or as if they're witnessing a war goddess dancing for the first time. Patrick compliments Eumiella, stating that everyone's attention is on them because she looks extraordinarily beautiful. Eumiella feels surprised and tells herself that she usually doesn't let hollow words affect her emotions. But her hands are sweating, and she feels unsure of what to do. She understands that accepting such compliments might make people doubt her sincerity. Patrick remarks that she's quite innocent, but Eumiella admits she struggles to respond cleverly to empty compliments. When Patrick is about to say something else, Eumiella steps back, explaining that her hands are too sweaty to hold his. She apologizes for her dancing skills and suggests they dance together in the next song instead. Suddenly, another person appears behind Eumiella and asks her to dance, but Eumiella quickly rejected him, saying that she was only into people who were stronger than her. This revelation shocks Patrick. The episode ends here. Stay tuned for more and subscribe for updates. We then see Patrick expressing his desire to invite Eumiella to the Margrave Agency before the spring break. However, before he can finish, Eumiella shares that she has plans of her own for the holiday. Patrick then asks if she'll be returning home, to which she confirms, mentioning they'll meet again in the new academic year. This disappoints Patrick as he wants to spend the break with her. During the break, Patrick diligently trained in the dungeon every day, defeating monsters and honing his skills. As spring arrives, he enjoys the pleasant weather, marking the start of a new season and a new year. At the Academy Hall before the opening ceremony, Patrick encounters Eumiella holding a mysterious black egg. Curious, he asks her about it, and she reveals that it's her child. Patrick is taken aback by this revelation. Eumiella then explains that before the break, a girl named Jessica sought her advice. Jessica used to be close friends with Alicia, but their relationship seems strained now. Then Jessica informs her that there's a dragon settled on a mountain in Montfort Agency, but so far it hasn't taken anyone's life. However, it's only a matter of time if they don't do something about it, as the local soldiers are incapable of fighting a dragon at all. Sure, they're waiting for the arrival of the army, but they don't know how long it will take. Eumiella speaks to herself, expressing her surprise when Jessica asked her for this favor. Then she tells her that she will go with her to kill the dragon. The scene shifts to Eumiella and Jessica in a carriage, and Eumiella asks Jessica if this dragon breathes fire. Jessica confirms, saying that's what her father told her in his letter. Then the scene moves to Jessica's house where her father welcomes Eumiella, thanking her for coming. He tells her that his daughter said in her letter that she resembles the Demon King, which surprises Jessica, and she clarifies that she didn't say that, but rather said that Eumiella is strong enough to defeat the Demon King as she is at level 99. Her father is very surprised by this. Then Eumiella says to herself, I haven't experienced this reaction in a long time. The scene then shifts to the soldiers accompanied by Eumiella in the forest on their way to the dragon. One of the soldiers asks his friend why they should listen to orders from a young girl, referring to Eumiella. His friend tells him that these are the orders of Baron Montfort. Suddenly Eumiella stops, surprising the soldiers. One of them tells her she can rest if she's tired, but Eumiella informs them that the dragon is here. They look up and see the dragon flying above them. The soldiers get scared and hide behind a rock. Eumiella instructs them to stay where they are. Then the dragon attacks her, breathing fire, but Eumiella uses the black hole magic, creating a black hole in the sky that absorbs the dragon inside it. The soldiers are astonished by Eumiella's ability to defeat the dragon with a single attack. Eumiella informs them that she's not done yet, as there are 2 more dragons in the forest, not just one. Suddenly the green dragon, the wind dragon, appears, and Eumiella uses the shadow spear to attack and kill it. Then she tells the soldiers that there's another task she must do. We see Eumiella approaching the dragon's nest and looking at the egg. She observes the dragon egg. We return to reality once again, and Eumiella tells him that she's the one who placed that egg. Patrick laughs in surprise and asks her, what? Are you laying eggs now? But she tells him, oh Patrick, I'm just teasing you. Patrick sighs, putting his hand on his head. The scene then shifts to when they both went out to the garden, and Eumiella tells him that it's a large egg from a red dragon. She explains that some things happened during the school holiday. Patrick is amazed by this large egg, as it's rare to see someone nurturing a dragon egg. He asks her if she'll let it hatch. She tells him yes, and that she got permission from the king and the supervisor, who agreed to it. This ability can be used to hatch the egg and turn it into a dragon with the light attribute. Then it will grow large enough to carry the party on its back. The main goal of the dragon killing event was to provide them with a means of travel. Of course, that wasn't the actual goal. The real goal was to help people who were facing problems, but the event's reward was very tempting. It could help me escape from the kingdom if I wanted to. I could fly all over the world. Then she imagines herself riding on that green dragon. As for when I said it's my child, it's not just talk. Those dragons have a beautiful quality when I incubate and warm the egg at the ambient temperature of 37 degrees Celsius by sitting on it like chicks for more than 30 days. The egg will hatch, and the first person the hatchling sees will recognize them as their parent. But I've become very attached to her and carry her everywhere, to the extent that I hug her every day while she's with me. At first, I considered it just a way to get a comfortable taxi, but since I've been taking care of her from the beginning, I already consider her my daughter. In those moments, Alicia comes by, but she's scared and thinks Eumiella has an evil dragon, so she quickly runs away. Patrick looks surprised and calls Eumiella wild and evil, but she doesn't mind. Eumiella thinks the dragon is beautiful. Patrick is amazed and asks how. Eumiella says the dragon will be elegant. Patrick suggests bringing the strongest dragon into the world, and Eumiella agrees confidently. Patrick wishes her egg hatches safely. In those moments, the egg trembles, so it's time for it to hatch, or rather, the time for it to hatch is approaching. Eumiella is amazed and very happy, so they quickly go home. The maid, Ashpatan, welcomes them, and then Eumiella invites Patrick. Patrick enters, feeling embarrassed to be in a girl's room. They place the egg on that pillow and wait together. The egg moves again, surprising both of them. Eumiella says this egg will hatch within an hour, or even less. She taps on it, and the egg starts moving more and more. Eumiella is very excited now, as she can see the little one, and hopes to God that it will be beautiful, charming, and very strong. At that moment, everyone is focused on the egg, waiting for something extraordinary to happen. Suddenly, the egg starts cracking open. Eumiella grabs Patrick's arm to get his attention. She yells out in pain as he grips her arm tightly. As they watch, the egg fully cracks open, revealing the dragon inside. Eumiella is thrilled to see the dragon finally emerging alive. It lets out a small cry, startling the maid, who backs away in fear. Patrick comments on how scary the dragon looks, but he's surprised to see Eumiella's reaction. She describes the dragon as majestic and beautiful, noting its noble appearance and dark scales. Eumiella compares the dragon to its father and hugs it tightly, filled with joy, while Patrick looks on in amazement. The dragon begins purring like a cat, prompting Patrick to suggest giving it a beautiful name. Eumiella thinks for a moment but struggles to find a name. Then, Patrick suggests the name Rio, which Eumiella agrees is beautiful. She then officially names the dragon Rio, and Rio approaches her calmly. While Eumiella remains unafraid, both Patrick and the maid are terrified. The maid clings to the door, trembling with fear, while Patrick seeks refuge with her. However, Rio isn't finished yet. He emits a beam from his eye, but Eumiella manages to dodge it. She informs them that it's time to take Rio to bed. Patrick questions Eumiella's decision, wondering if Rio will sleep in her bed. Eumiella confirms this, explaining that Rio will sleep with her until he grows up. Patrick reluctantly accepts this arrangement and leaves, urging Eumiella to take good care of Rio. Later that night, Eumiella and Rio sit together on the bed. She talks to him affectionately, hugs him, and tells him he's cute before they both fall asleep. The next morning, the maid Rita enters the room, visibly alarmed. She remarks on how big Rio has grown overnight, expressing concern about how they will get him out of the room. Eumiella reflects to herself that children grow up fast, but she didn't expect Rio to grow so quickly. She's puzzled about how to get him out of her room. The following day, Eumiella attempts to coax Rio out of the window, reassuring him it's safe. Eventually, Rio manages to leave through the window. Eumiella praises him and decides she needs to find him a nearby place to stay. As other girls enter the room and see Rio, they scream in fear, drawing more students who are shocked by Rio's size. Eumiella, initially unaware of the cause of the commotion, realizes it's because of Rio. She assures everyone that Rio is friendly and cute, destined to be popular at school. Eumiella invites the girls to play with Rio, but they panic and flee as Rio excitedly chases after them. Patrick asks Eumiella to call Rio back, and Rio obediently returns to her side upon hearing her call. Eumiella understands that not everyone feels comfortable around animals and respects their feelings. She asks Patrick if he likes Rio, and Patrick acknowledges Rio's intelligence but expresses concern about the potential danger of letting Rio play with others. Suddenly, Rio turns to play with Patrick, who becomes very frightened and pleads for Rio to leave him alone. Rio releases Patrick and Eumiella checks on him, asking if he's okay despite getting tossed by Rio. Patrick responds that he feels fortunate to have survived. Edwin arrives and is alarmed by the sight of the large dragon. He questions Eumiella about the dragon's presence, to which she introduces Rio and explains she has permission to raise him. Edwin becomes agitated, insisting that having such a dangerous creature at school is unacceptable. Before he can finish his sentence, Rio attempts to play with him by nudging his head. Eumiella intervenes, asking Rio to refrain from playing rough, especially with unfamiliar people. Alicia steps in, advising Edwin to calm down. Edwin vows to make Eumiella pay for what he perceives as humiliation. Eumiella assumes Edwin may not be fond of animals either. Alina approaches and is captivated by Rio. Eumiella introduces Rio to Alina, who admires him, despite others still feeling fearful. Rio approaches Alina and observes the luxurious jewelry she wears. Alina, delighted by the attention, throws a gem, hoping Rio would appreciate it. However, Rio ignores the jewelry and instead gently nudges Alina's head with his mouth. Alina is thrilled by this unique interaction, hoping it will make Edwin admire her more. Eumiella frequently visits Rio in the storage room on the school grounds. When other students see Eumiella, they become fearful, having heard rumors about her being a level 99 student. They quickly run away upon encountering her. Later, Eumiella engages Patrick in conversation, asking if he's free after their current activities. Patrick confirms his availability, prompting Eumiella to suggest they act busy. She hints that she has something important to discuss with him, possibly something they both desire or fear. She suggests they reveal their thoughts simultaneously, expressing her desire to fly in the sky with Rio. Patrick is taken aback because he anticipated Eumiella would express her love for him, just as he wanted to do for her. Curious about Eumiella's desire to fly, Patrick asks why she wishes to do so. Eumiella admits she's a bit fearful but had hoped Patrick would join her. However, Patrick declines, expressing his disinterest in flying. Eumiella inquires about Patrick's previous desire to fly with someone else, surprised by his assumption that she fears nothing. She realizes Patrick is deflecting the conversation, feeling slightly embarrassed that their thoughts weren't aligned as she thought. Moving on, they visit the dragon, now larger than before, with a ring adorning its claw. Eumiella explains she placed it there to signify the dragon's allegiance to the kingdom, dispelling any notion of it being wild. Despite her fear of falling, Eumiella resolves to take the risk, emphasizing the importance of someone being below her for safety, albeit doubtful anyone would be there. Patrick advises against proceeding if she's apprehensive, but Eumiella feels compelled to take the chance. Mounting the dragon, they soar above the city, drawing fearful reactions from the people below. Eumiella encourages the dragon to greet them, causing further panic when it performs unexpected acrobatics. Eumiella slips from Rio's back, prompting the dragon to try catching her again. However, she insists he returns alone, expressing concern about accidentally causing harm if she were to fall into the city. Unable to utilize wind magic, she wishes she could alter her landing trajectory. Employing magic, she directs her descent towards Rio's dwelling, penetrating the earth and descending into the depths below. Patrick becomes deeply worried and descends into the pit to reassure her. Despite his offer to carry her to the nurse's office, Eumiella insists on walking herself, though Patrick remains concerned. Eumiella assures him that she'll be fine, urging him to calm down and emphasizing her resilience. Patrick advises her to take better care of herself, acknowledging the misconceptions some people have about her despite her being human. Eumiella finds his words somewhat harsh, but appreciates his concern. Meanwhile, Eumiella ventures into town for the first time in a while, noticing Rio's continuous growth. She intends to search for supplies like a saddle, a food bowl, and educational toys for the dragon. Suddenly, a stranger approaches, revealing himself as a spy from the Kingdom of Realmist, requesting a private conversation. The next day, Eumiella went to the city to buy a saddle so that she wouldn't fall the next time. Suddenly, a mysterious figure approached her, advising her to stay calm. He introduced himself as a spy from the Kingdom of Realmist and requested to speak with her privately. Shortly after, we see Eumiella and the spy sitting together in a room. The man introduced himself as Linus, a spy from the neighboring country. Upon hearing this, Eumiella recalled that Patrick's hometown was also on the border of both countries, which were known not to get along. She wondered what a spy from that country could want from her. Linus eventually revealed his purpose to Eumiella. He explained politely, with a sigh, that after conducting his research, he discovered that Eumiella was indeed level 99 and incredibly strong. She didn't desire power, wealth, or anything extravagant. All she wanted was to live an ordinary life. However, after hatching an ender dragon, his king continuously urged him to ask Eumiella to join them in their country. Upon hearing this, Eumiella politely declined the offer, fearing that any war that ensued would also affect Patrick's hometown, and she didn't want to be involved in that. Linus sighed in understanding, but out of curiosity, he asked why Eumiella remained in a country where, according to him, everyone treated her poorly due to her black hair. He wondered what was stopping her from leaving. Upon hearing Linus's words, Eumiella immediately thought of Patrick's face. She expressed her desire to defeat the demon lord threatening the world. Before she could finish, sensing someone approaching, she warned Linus to flee, suspecting the king had sent a spy. As guards surrounded the cafe, Linus hastily put on a hoodie and escaped, thanking Eumiella as he departed. By the time the guards arrived, Eumiella had vanished. On her way back, she decided against buying the saddle she had planned to get, lost in thought. Initially considering fleeing to another country, Eumiella found herself unexpectedly attached to the kingdom, realizing it was because of Patrick. The next day, while petting Ryu, Eumiella gathered the courage to ask Patrick something. As a self-proclaimed shut-in loser, she struggled to express her desire to be friends directly. Instead, she began to tell a story about a lonely girl who was bullied and how a kind man started to talk to her. Although their relationship began as sparring partners, the lonely girl wished to be friends with the kind man. Patrick, confused by the story, mentioned that he already considered Eumiella his friend. This statement left Eumiella even more confused, as she couldn't believe that Patrick saw her as a friend. She assumed he only valued her for her combat abilities. However, Patrick clarified that from the moment he met Eumiella, he simply wanted to ride dragons with her. This revelation filled Eumiella with a warm feeling and made her happy. While heading back to their rooms, Eumiella, filled with excitement, asked Patrick if they could ride Ryu together and soar high into the sky. She eagerly invited Patrick to join her in the adventure. However, Patrick declined her invitation, explaining that he had to attend to something important elsewhere. Eumiella felt a twinge of disappointment at his refusal. Before Eumiella could express her feelings further, Eleonora suddenly appeared, calling out for Eumiella. Patrick seized the opportunity to leave, bidding Eumiella good luck with Eleonora, her dear friend. As Eumiella became engrossed in caring for Eleonora, Patrick, adorned with the amulet of growth, ventured into a dungeon. Despite warnings from the guards about excessive leveling, Patrick was determined to power up significantly, driven by his desire to become strong enough to ride on Eumiella's back. Deep within the dungeon, as Patrick battled goblins, he pondered the fact that Eumiella was just a normal 16-year-old girl like him. This realization prompted him to believe that if Eumiella could become strong, so could he. Later that evening, Patrick returned to school, visibly battered and bruised from his endeavors. Seeing him in such a state, Eumiella couldn't help but deduce where Patrick had been secretly going. Although Patrick felt a bit embarrassed by her revelation, Eumiella boldly suggested that Patrick must have been meeting his girlfriend in secret every day. Patrick was taken aback by Eumiella's assumption, vehemently denying the existence of a girlfriend and emphasizing his single, virgin, and loser status. Undeterred, Eumiella persisted, insisting on meeting Patrick's supposed girlfriend and questioning where he had been sneaking off to. Unable to disclose the true reason for his secretive activity, Patrick found himself at a loss for words. However, at that moment, Ryu became hungry. Eumiella had to leave to feed Ryu, saying goodbye to Patrick. Suddenly, Edwin approached from behind, addressing Patrick. He admitted that he had observed and overheard everything from a distance and concurred with Patrick's observation that Eumiella wasn't a bad person, she was just a bit peculiar and different. While they were flying, Eumiella found herself lost in thought, pondering where Patrick might be sneaking off to every day if he didn't have a girlfriend. Initially, she had assumed he had a girlfriend, but upon discovering he was single and inexperienced, she felt relieved yet pondered if there was ever a possibility of a romantic relationship between them. The following day, Patrick approached Eumiella, informing her that he needed to discuss something important and requested her to accompany him. Eumiella agreed, and they entered a room where Edwin awaited them, appearing ready for a serious conversation. After Patrick departed, Edwin, with a remorseful expression, initiated the conversation by apologizing to Eumiella. He sincerely expressed regret for his past behavior of bullying and humiliating her in front of others, despite his father's attempts to clarify that she wasn't the demon lord. Edwin confessed to struggling with the idea of someone like Eumiella being stronger than him, given their similar human status and age. His ego had blinded him. Hearing this, Eumiella forgave Edwin. She rationalized that everyone in the academy was still young, and she herself acknowledged that her existence might seem peculiar to ordinary people. Upon hearing Edwin's apology, Eumiella smiled warmly, recognizing that Edwin's change of heart mirrored Patrick's description. Edwin then offered to grant any request Eumiella might have as a gesture of his apology. Eumiella simply requested to join the demon subjugation mission, nothing more. However, she couldn't shake her curiosity about why Edwin chose to apologize only now and not earlier. Edwin explained that it was Patrick who had consistently reminded him, like a broken record, that Eumiella wasn't a bad person. After personally observing Eumiella, Edwin finally understood that Patrick was correct. After Edwin left, the principal arrived and asked about their conversation. Eumiella recounted Edwin's apology and the subsequent discussion. The vice principal explained that Edwin and the other boys struggled to accept the idea of someone their age being stronger than them. The principal then disclosed that Edwin, William, and Oswald had been intensely training to surpass Eumiella in strength, but Alicia was an exception. The boys constantly intervened to rescue and pamper Alicia whenever she faced danger, which hindered her progress. As a result, Alicia remained at a low level. The principal requested Eumiella's help in leveling up Alicia, to which Eumiella agreed. Upon reaching Alicia's training spot, Eumiella observed Alicia struggling with her light magic practice. Concerned for Alicia's well-being, Eumiella offered to train her in a dark-type dungeon she knew. However, Alicia, intimidated by Eumiella's intense presence, hastily made an excuse about needing to use the bathroom and fled, leaving Eumiella puzzled. The next day, Alicia went missing once again. William accused Eumiella of harming Alicia, but Eumiella vehemently denied the accusation. Meanwhile, Alicia wandered deep into the forest with a blank expression on her face. We then see Eumiella searching for Alicia with Ryu. She asks Ryu to fly a little lower as he might know where Alicia is. She eventually finds her and approaches her. She tries to bring her to her senses, and Alicia screams as she suddenly sees Eumiella and Ryu emitting a terrified aura. Eumiella calms her down and wonders what she is doing out here. Eumiella asks if she doesn't remember anything. Alicia wonders why Eumiella came so far because she was worried for her. Eumiella tells her that she had a guess Alicia would come to this dungeon because of the conversation they had previously about her leveling up in a dark-type dungeon. Alicia agrees with her as she feels like she is the one who has been holding Edwin and others back and she doesn't know what to do. Eumiella asks if she was stressed over it, which leads her to move unconsciously. Alicia then tells Eumiella that this has happened many times before. She explains that she has been doing things she never thought of doing without even realizing it. Alicia explains that the first time she felt this strange urge was after receiving a recommendation from the Royal Academy, despite while speaking to the recruiter. Similar instances occurred during a martial arts competition and before a school party where she acted boldly without fully understanding why. Eumiella questions if Alicia has confided in anyone about these experiences, to which Alicia admits she hasn't, fearing it might cause unnecessary worry. Eumiella shares her hypothesis that Alicia's actions align with the storyline of a game called Light Magic and the Hero, where Alicia is the heroine. Eumiella explains that these events seem to be driven by the game's plot, causing Alicia to unconsciously act in accordance with it. Despite Alicia's confusion, Eumiella assures her that her actions will likely cease over time. Alicia expresses relief and gratitude for the reassurance. Eumiella suggests they do some dungeon leveling before Alicia rushes back to her worried friends. Despite Ryu, they suddenly run away. Eumiella wonders why they're in such a hurry, thinking there might be a problem. Alicia doubts the guard's explanation and doesn't think it's because of urgent business. They enter the dungeon, and suddenly, Alicia is attacked by monsters. She uses her light magic to defeat them easily, but because Eumiella explains that in situations like this, Alicia can hit targets without aiming precisely. Alicia finds it challenging and calls for help. Eumiella explains to Alicia that by defeating more monsters, their level increases, especially since creatures of darkness are vulnerable to light magic, making it for this kind of excitement. Suddenly, skeletal monsters appear, and Alicia and Eumiella attack them together. Eumiella informs Alicia that there are 50 floors in this dungeon, and they receive random tools as rewards. Alicia is surprised by the number of floors. Then, chicken-like monsters appear, and Alicia fights them. Eumiella advises her that different monsters with various attributes will appear, and Alicia should use her skills to identify weaknesses and defeat them. Feeling scared, Alicia asks Eumiella why she isn't helping more in this difficult situation. Eumiella reassures her that she is guiding and supporting her until she reaches the highest level, ready to intervene if needed. Encouraged, Alicia uses her power to defeat the monstrous chicken easily, amazed at her success. As they continue, they encounter a dangerous lion with bat-like wings. The monster strikes her, knocking her to the ground, but then the Daemon King taunts her, saying he'll give her all the power she has. He uses his power on her, knocking her to the ground, causing her instantly defeating him. Eumiella rushes to Alicia to check on her. Alice treasure chest together to see what's inside. When they look inside, Eumiella tells Alicia that luck was truly on her side, as it contained a set of protective talismans that Alicia wouldn't need, so she could keep them. Alicia thanks Eumiella for that, and then Eumiella uses the teleportation spell. Alicia doesn't understand what's happening, so Eumiella explains to her that it's the teleportation spell of light, which will take her back to the surface once she activates it. Indeed, they teleport to the surface of the Daemon. Alicia thanks Eumiella for helping her, and then she drinks a dose of healing potion. Eumiella tells her that since she has taken the dose, she needs to wear another protective amulet because they will re-enter. Since she hasn't defeated the leader, she can't claim to have subdued him. She also informs her that she can raise her level higher if she wants to. Alicia is very afraid, but she decides to go back there again. The two girls return to the moss and reach its depths, shocking the Daemon leader because he never expected anyone to reach the bottom of his Damasu. Alicia quickly attacks him to defeat him, as she had tried to subdue the Daemon several times. Her level had increased attractively, and she had gained new spells one after the other. Eumiella was quite surprised by Alice's increasing strength, but she found it strange how quickly her level was rising. She wondered if the game's plot was progressing again, pushing Alicia forward. After some time, Alicia couldn't defeat the leader, so Eumiella stepped in and defeated him. Alicia was very saddened by this because she didn't want to die. Eumiella explained to her that the treasure chest Alicia had acquired contained the Dark Orphan Sword, which had dark attributes incompatible with Alicia's light attribute. They agreed that Eumiella would keep it. They also obtained a wind spear from defeating the leader, and Eumiella decided to give this spear to Patrick as a memento. Then, the two girls returned to the Damasu, but this time, Alicia decided to defeat the leader herself because she didn't want to die so easily. Indeed, Alicia managed to defeat the leader on her own this time. In the treasure chest, Lee catches her, and they continue on their way. But as they are in the air, a storm occurs, followed by a fall. Eumiella asked, "What's happening?" Alicia replied, "The Demon King is trying to stop us." Eumiella told her this doesn't seem normal. "We passed through here just now." Then she said to Ryo, "Be careful not to go off the wrong path. Go where you were told." Eumiella thought to herself, "We're flying in circles, and that seems right. It might be the main driver of the game's story again. Perhaps we can't approach the Demon King until the right time." Then she asks Ryo to take them to the academy. Alicia clung to him again, and Ryo caught her. Eumiella said to her, "It would be annoying to have to hold on to you if we return." After that, the scene shifts to the academy, and everyone is surprised when Eumiella and Alicia arrive with Ryo. Eumiella tells them that Alicia has returned safely, and quickly goes to her friends, saying, "I was so scared." Oz asks her, "Where have you been? We were worried about you." Then the boy talks to Eumiella and asks her where she found Alicia. She replies that it's a long story. Then she gives him the magical staff and gives the magical stones to Alicia. He takes them. Ed says, "We don't have time for this. We need to become stronger than her, or Alicia will surpass us." Patrick says, Alicia has gained several levels. Eumiella responds that she has surpassed level 50, but she's still not strong enough to defeat the Demon King. The higher her level, the harder it is for her to reach the next level. She thinks she'll take her to the tougher damas next time. Patrick tells her she'll make Alyssa cry again if she tells her that. She reassures him that it'll be okay and that she's starting to understand how enjoyable leveling up can be. Patrick says he needs to work harder too. This brings an end to our episode.